Hello, how the heck are you? Why am I starting it like that? Don't know what that energy was. But hello, welcome back to, what did we call this? Oh yeah, SLP Talks with Marie. Let's talk about prioritizing work-life balance, or maybe life-work balance in your SLP work schedule. Hi, my sweet friends. I am so sorry to interrupt, but I just finished editing this video and I realized it is actually quite long, but it was really hard for me to figure out what I needed to cut out because there's so much valuable information, at least I think there is, in this video. And so I wanted to just give you a heads up. It might be something where you pop on your AirPods or put it on the background while you're getting things done around the house, whatever, just to listen, like podcast style. Also, I have time-stamped all of the big things that I'm talking about throughout this video. So if there's anything you really want to hear in terms of creating your balanced schedule, go ahead and check out the description for those chapters. So anyways, cheers. I hope you enjoy this YouTube video, and yeah. Okay, can't wait to see you soon, but I want you to get back to it, so bye. First, I just want to address the obvious. If you can hear it, it is windy today. I did not think it was going to be windy today, number one. Number two, this is the time I allotted to film this video. So, wind or no wind, we're doing this. If you hear the wind, that's just nature doing her thing outside. I'm gonna get comfy. I've got my water. I'm gonna encourage you, make a cup of tea, grab a cup of coffee, get your water, let's sit, let's have a chat, and talk about life-work balance and how to make your schedule as a speech-language pathologist work for your style, your life, your balance. If you're new here, I am Marie. I am a preschool speech-language pathologist. I work in Southern California in a school district. So I'm doing the school-based thing. My workday starts at 7:20 in the morning and ends at 2:50 p.m. in the afternoon. I say that because why not just start with explaining my Monday through Friday contract hours when I'm talking to you about creating a life-work balance and a schedule as a speech-language pathologist that works for you by giving you examples of what works for me. And that is my time frame. That is the time, those are the times I'm supposed to be at work. So we're gonna get into all the nitty gritty. We're gonna get into, do you stay after your contract hours? Do you leave right when you're supposed to? Do you get to work right when you're supposed to? Do you get there early? All those things we'll talk about, but I wanna just preface everything by saying this is so subjective. I am here to maybe help you with little bits of your schedule, tease through some things that maybe you'll find work for you, but I'm not here to tell you what to do. You figure out what works for you, because what works for you may not work for me, and what works for me may not work for you, and all the in between. And before I forget to say it, because I'm horrible at saying this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If there's anything that you would want to add to maybe what works for your life work flow, put it in the comments. If you have any questions or want me to go into detail about anything or talk about this maybe in a future vlog or video, put it in the comments below. And if you aren't subscribed to my channel but you like what you see here, I would love for you to join the crew. We have a lot of fun, I think. First and foremost, like I said, subjective. So when we're thinking about creating a workday schedule that prioritizes that life-work balance, we're just gonna say balance. Can we just say balance? I don't wanna say life-work too many times. When we're thinking about that, you have to think about what it is for you that helps you feel balanced. And because I don't want to sit here and say you have to meditate for 5 minutes every morning, you have to incorporate this in your evening routines, you have to eat this or do that. It's going to be different for you. But I will say, as someone that really enjoys a slow, cozy morning, it does start the minute I wake up. The way that I go about my morning sometimes can set the tone for my day and influence how my maybe mindset is throughout the day, how I'm feeling like energy-wise, energy levels throughout the day. So really thinking about my schedule, I always kind of start backwards in a way and think about, well, sleep, going to bed on time, getting up at a certain time. Like I said, my workday starts, I don't have much control over what time I can get to work because I need to start seeing kids by a certain time because their school day starts at a certain time. There's so many things in between. Before I even get into maybe what my morning looks like or how I do this or how I do that, think about your own schedule. Think about the days or day or whatever in terms of what does your contract day look like if you're contracted to a certain time frame. Maybe you have to be at work, for productivity like levels, and you just have to be there for a certain amount of hours. I don't really know, because I know what it looks like for me, and I honestly don't remember what it looked like when I was doing externships and doing private practice and different things. But it's gonna vary depending on your setting, depending on who controls your schedule. Think about doing this. Think about, after you watch this video, maybe you can spend a day, 2, 3 days, maybe a whole week, kind of tracking your time, kind of seeing, oh, from this time to this time, or for this chunk of minutes or whatever, I am spending time doing the allotted tasks or these tasks. Do I need to be spending time doing these tasks at these times? Like, will it be better if I flip things? It's a puzzle. And when I am thinking about, for myself, creating a schedule that prioritizes balance, I am, number one, flexible. I think that's going to be a huge key piece here, because the more flexible you can be with your schedule on a daily basis, the easier that's going to be mentally for you. It's going to alleviate a lot of stress from your mindset, because you're not like, well, I'm supposed to be here at this time and this isn't happening and now my schedule's ruined. No, like, if you have that ability to be flexible in your schedule, or kind of just ingrained in your mindset about your schedule, that right there is going to elevate, like how I use that word, elevate your balance. And it really does help you take that step back and be like, okay, like, life is in control here in this moment, and I just need to roll with the punches, because that'll happen. I feel like that's been happening a lot in the last 2 weeks. So I really can relate to that concept right now. So when you're assessing your personal workday, think about those things that are necessary for you to do your job effectively in a day. And then also on the flip side, maybe you can track the things that you're doing. I know for me, scrolling social media is one where I'm like, I don't need to be doing this. Even on like little 10-minute breaks that I might need to take just to, take a step back, I don't need to be scrolling social media. I think it would be a lot better for me personally, maybe taking time to like journal or do something maybe a little bit creative. So it's kind of like making a little pros and cons list. You are thinking about what are your essential tasks of the day, things that, you're getting paid to do essentially, and maybe the non-essential tasks of the day. I know sometimes I might think I need to be checking my email 10 times within a 3-hour period or whatever. I mean, that's arbitrary, but like there are times where I'm like, oh, I'm not doing something right now, I need to check my email. Maybe that's not as essential as I think it is. I feel like as a school-based employee, just out of habit, we're always checking our email, but I don't necessarily need to be as tied to my email as I think I do sometimes. So like for me, if I'm analyzing my day, like if I think about the last week of work, I know I probably checked my email a few too many times than I really needed to, because then sometimes you get sucked into things that don't really need your focus right then and there. If I have 5 minutes between sessions, maybe I'm not gonna check my email. Maybe I'm gonna organize something, because sometimes that's good for my mind. Maybe I'm gonna go through my, all my therapy materials and be like, ooh, I could get rid of some things, I could purge some things. That's been something that in 2025, I'm gonna try and focus more on. That's been a little bit of a goal for me. As a school-based SLP, when I'm at work, like those times that I wanna sit at my computer instead, if I don't have to be sitting there like writing a report or working on an IEP or anything, I think I'm gonna purge some things, go through some materials, like organize, because that has seemed to give me a little bit more balance and clarity and organization and just peace of mind, versus sitting and checking my email and maybe feeling like I need to get sucked into a conversation that really could wait until the end of the day. I love the idea of when you are looking at your essential tasks, like thinking about a daily schedule, prioritizing 3 tasks. Instead of prioritizing or saying, I need to get these 10 things done, I have found it very helpful for me in terms of my own balance, in terms of my mindset, to just focus on 3 essential tasks of the day. And therapy is one of those tasks. And I like to think of it like this. The task, yes, is running therapy sessions, but I like to be very intentional with those sessions, right? So maybe it's running therapy sessions that are cultivating a connection between me and my client. They're happy therapy sessions. They are present, where I'm present therapy sessions, like really putting some intention and some good adjectives into my task as a speech therapist in that moment of running those therapy sessions. maybe I have an IEP that day. So maybe one of my tasks is that IEP meeting. Sometimes I do need a little bit of like focus, especially from transitioning from therapy tasks into an IEP meeting or vice versa, of being intentional about the time and the presence that I have in those tasks. And then there's always the paperwork. So what's your priority in terms of paperwork that day? And right there you can see, like, if you have those 3 big things, that's it. I mean, that might be for that day where you cap out. And now some days you're gonna have more time allotted for other things, but it's okay to just have 3 things from your to-do list that you can focus on getting done in a day. Now, obviously, priorities, right? Because you might be sitting there like, okay, but I have like 15 IEPs due by the end of next week or whatever. So how do I prioritize that? Well, again, okay, so your calendar, right? When is each IEP due? When do you feel you need to get it done by? Sometimes there are SLPs that like to get them done a week in advance. Some like to get them done a day in advance. I fall somewhere in between. So what do you need to do every day to be able to maybe give yourself like 3 IEPs to work on each day? Oh, she has energy out there. So in that sense, you're looking at what's the most urgent task I need to get done right now, right? Some of us work in a setting where we can easily shift therapy sessions, easily shift our therapy schedule around when we do have those more urgent, like IEP writing, IEP meeting types of tasks. Some of us don't. So it does take a little bit of that creativity, or maybe just open-mindedness, maybe take some advocacy to be able to ask, like, hey, I need time because look at my schedule. I have 15 IEPs. I mean, I have gone to my admin in the past when I didn't have as much flexibility, and I have said, I don't know how I'm expected to get all of these things done and therapy done. And that's when I've gotten the go ahead of like, if you need to cancel sessions or make them up at a later date, that's fine, you know? So that's also something in terms of when you're looking at your urgent tasks. Just because I say that now because I know that question might already start forming in your head, like, well, what do I do if I can't move things around and focus on those 3 urgent tasks in a day? You know, that's where the advocacy comes in. And I will say it's starting, doesn't mean it's everywhere, but I do feel like there is a shift of understanding the workload, especially of SLPs. And if you're school-based like me, I am seeing that shift more and more as I talk to more school-based SLPs. It's not perfect, it's not happening everywhere yet, but the more we talk about it and advocate for ourselves, the more we will be able to have that flexibility in our schedules when we need it. So there you go. Figure out what tasks need to be a priority, what are urgent, and instead of giving yourself that long list of things to do every day, because man, it feels good to check things off my list, start with 3. And if you find that you're even overwhelmed with 3, start with 1, start with 2. Baby steps. And I'm not saying go from 3 and then try to build up to 10. That's not what I'm saying. Like for me, I'm still at like 3 and I'm good, right? Also, in my world, I'm a content creator. So I do the work thing. I'm there, I'm in it. And then I come home and I have vlogs I want to edit. I have Instagram posts to get ready. And I'm doing that thing. So my tasks really are, I kind of double them if I'm doing, you know, the content creating and the school-based SLP stuff in the same day. 3 things at school, and then maybe 1 extra thing at home for the content, or maybe it's 2. So there's also that I'm, you know, and if you're like me and you're also a SLP/content creator, there's also that to keep in mind. If you're able to manage it and handle it, but you're like kind of struggling to do so, then find the balance. I actually, at the beginning of the school year that we're currently in, I cut down on my social media. That was one big thing where I knew, I was like, I can't prioritize this anymore. I have to be present at work. I'm doing a lot more with trainings and different things at work. And so I'm not posting every day to social media. I'm kind of doing whatever's easiest when it comes to Instagram, TikTok, all of those things. YouTube is still a big focus of mine. So like I've been prioritizing in different ways, and it changes in this with the different seasons. And that's why that flexibility piece comes in again for me, that has been so helpful. If I'm starting to feel like I want to prioritize Instagram more and, you know, TikTok less, or like whatever, I just kind of let myself go with it. and find where I feel like I am, what do you call it, in that zone of proximal development, where I just feel like I'm thriving at the moment, and follow the yellow brick road. You know what I mean? Time blocking. So remember how I said that the morning kind of sets the tone, at least in my world? So think about your SLP workday starting from the time you wake up. And the reason I say this is because not that you're gonna get on your phone and check your email. Actually, I would encourage you to do the opposite. But think about how you spend your time from the time you wake up into transitioning to the morning prep and all of that as like your first step here, as your first block of time. That time that you are waking up, you're getting ready to leave, what are you doing that kind of helps you prioritize what it is that gives you balance? For me, it's health, a lot of health. I make an herbal tea. I try and do at least 2 to 5 minutes. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but for me, it's very helpful, even if it's just 2 minutes of yoga, of stretching every single morning. And then I'm also not on my phone. I keep my phone off until I am getting dressed. That's around the time I'll turn it on. Or like look at my messages, and I don't even check my email till I get to work. But I don't, try not to go on social media or YouTube or anything. I listen to, my favorite podcast to listen to in the mornings is Michael Singer. Like I have all those healthy and wellnessy things kind of built into my morning to the point now where I look forward to it. At first I was like, no, I want to watch a YouTube video, or I want to watch New Girl or something while I get ready. And now I'm like, no, like I know how good it feels to listen to Michael Singer tell me about the importance of letting go. It's really helpful for my growth and my mindset to have that kind of track in the morning. It fills me with a lot more joy, a lot more gratitude. Or I listen to instrumental music. That's just my thing. That is what I do. That's how I vibe. What is it for you that maybe will help you kind of get in that zone, but like not immediately plug yourself into social media, to your email, whatever. Sometimes you need to. Sometimes you're like, I know I need to send this email first thing in the morning, whatever. But ultimately, like what is it that you can do to kind of stack your habits so you are prioritizing the balance that you want to feel or prioritize? But then when you do get to work, think about, again, that blocking schedule. So first, you have your schedule of therapy sessions. Now, I know in the schools, especially once you get beyond preschool, there's so many different like boundaries and walls around where you can and cannot pull kids for speech sessions. So I know that you're very reliant on that. It's PE, so I can't pull 2nd grade now, but I can pull 3rd grade. So it's a huge puzzle. I totally get that. But when you get to work, do you block time for like prepping, for organizing? Maybe it's checking emails. For me, sometimes I need like 5 minutes to sit at my desk and do nothing. I swear, I sit and I just stare and I drink coffee. It's almost like meditating, but sometimes I need that blocked into my time because, okay, I've just driven to work. Now I'm here. Now I'm processing the things that are going to happen today, and I need silence and whatever. So like, what in that morning prep period do you need? How much time do you need for that? But give yourself a block of time. Give yourself that prep time. And then going into your therapy sessions, again, that's a schedule that you have set up maybe because of all of the boundaries set around that in your school or in your private practice, at the hospital, wherever you're working. But in that block of therapy sessions, like your mid-morning therapy, we'll call it, do you allot time for breaks? Like, do you give yourself even like 5 minutes? Sometimes it's really impossible. And actually, I was sitting with my SLPA. We got some new students, and I literally don't have breaks in the mornings. So we've had to get creative about, making sure we have that time. There's a chunk of time where the kids are all outside, and then from outside they go to potty try, and then from potty try they go to snack. And there's this like chunk of time where it's like, okay, we can push in for sessions in those times, but pulling out is really not possible. They need all those, they need to go through all of those transitions without getting pulled for speech. And so I've found that in that time, I can make sure that I take time for the restroom, that I take time to maybe just sit. Maybe that's when I check my email. But I'm giving myself like little blocks of time to breathe. To breathe, you need that. You can't go through all these back-to-back therapy sessions without taking time to breathe. Because I also find that helps me process sessions. It helps me process, maybe there was a student that was having a hard day and like we had an emotional session and I need to process that too. And I need to focus on, I tend to hold, like I had a situation last week where this sweet baby she was just distraught. And I took that home and I didn't give myself time, I should say, to process afterwards. I kind of didn't let myself because it was so hard on me and I should have. But those are the things I'm talking about, like giving myself that time to process some of those situations or therapy sessions. And then also the ones where, the students are super happy and laughing and you had such a great time. Like taking time to process those and to reflect on those is also really helpful for that balance piece, because you're like allowing yourself to like have that gratitude for it. You should have that gratitude for all of the situations. So giving that time for process, I guess I'm just saying processing is very helpful. So make sure in that, morning chunk of therapy, you're giving yourself maybe a 5-minute block. And maybe it's just an intention every morning. Maybe you don't have to have it written down in your schedule, but just giving yourself that intention of like, okay, oh, you know what? I have 5 minutes right now. I'm going to take some deep breaths, or I'm going to take a walk outside, like whatever works for you, but just, non-negotiable self-care. Did I say that loud enough? I will say, when I was a new SLP, I worked through my lunch break. In my second year, I went to preschool. I went from elementary to preschool. And in preschool, I learned how to collaborate, because in my program, I'm the one SLP with a bunch of different teachers, and during lunch, we all sat together because we're a little crew, we're a little bubble. And I'm so grateful for that, because it was my second year that I realized how crucial lunch breaks are. They're so important. And ever since that year, I have prioritized my lunch breaks. So I'm really glad that we have the environment that we have, but we've also been very intentional about it. And I've been super intentional about taking my lunch breaks, not working through them. There have been days, even, last week I did have a day where I needed to sit and like work on something during my lunch break, but that is not a habit of mine. And I've just made that something where I've set a boundary that I'm on my lunch, that I need the break. And then you go into the afternoon. Maybe you have therapy sessions, maybe 2 days a week, maybe 2 days a week. You can block out afternoons for like testing, meetings, paperwork. I know some SLPs in the schools that have a full day blocked out on their schedule. A lot of them might tend to do it on Fridays for testing and paperwork. So Fridays are not included in their therapy schedule. That's where they do all of their testing, paperwork, makeup days for makeup speech therapy sessions. My day is Mondays, but like I was saying at the beginning of this video, I do have a program where I get to be very flexible with my own schedule. So it does help me that I have that when it comes to makeups, when it comes to testing kids, doing observations and collaboration, things like that. But if you are in a setting where you find that you need to allot that time, like on a full day of the week, I've seen it done. So it's something to think about when you're blocking out your time. Like every Friday is my paperwork day. Every Tuesday, Thursday afternoon are my paperwork times. Like whatever kind of works for your schedule. But I definitely recommend taking a look at that when you're looking at, your tasks and how your time is being allotted currently, and then building in that time for that, because then you're not stressing about it before or after work. And then I do always recommend, and I don't know why I didn't bring one down here, but I didn't. Oh well. I'll put a picture right here of my gratitude journal, but I do always recommend every day. It doesn't have to be right at the end of the workday. It could be later at night when you're home, you're in bed, it's part of your nighttime routine. It could be in the morning, whatever, of taking time for reflection. I personally love doing it in a journal. I have my gratitude journal, the Say Thanks More journal, that I use every day, that I, sometimes I sit and I list things I'm grateful for that happened during the day. Sometimes I sit and I just process, things that have happened during the day, maybe things that were challenging, things that I'm like, what am I supposed to learn from this? And I sit and I take that time to reflect. And that has been very transformative in my mental health, but in just also how my mind is set throughout my day as a speech language pathologist. So I highly recommend blocking out time every day to reflect. Doesn't have to be during your work time hours. It could be later, but yeah, that has been so huge. Here's my quick soapbox spiel, whatever you want to call it, on setting boundaries. Because when we're thinking about making our own schedule or finding a schedule or workflow that works for us individually, we need to figure out how we're going to set boundaries to make sure. I used to look at it like protecting my schedule and my boundaries. I don't look at it like that so much anymore. I look at it more like how it helps me be intentional about my time. I find that instead of thinking like, I have to protect this is mine, that feels very ego charged. I don't know if that's a term. We're making it a term. But when I think more along the lines of having boundaries that allow me to be intentional about my time, because sometimes things come up and you realize, wow, this isn't a place where I have to dig my heels in the sand. Is that how you say it? Is that the term? I don't have to be so strict with my schedule right now, right here, right now. Actually, this person asking me to do this thing really would be good for me to do right now, or I really need to do it because this helps my student in this moment. Like, sometimes I have to say, oops, well, this was supposed to be time where I was, writing a report, but I have a student in distress. I need to go help. So just finding, that yes, maybe I have a boundary around this time period, but I need to, where am I going to best serve my caseload or my students right now? So yeah, it's just kind of reframing my mindset around that has really helped me, because it helps again with that flexibility piece, because the words I'm using to describe my boundaries are allowing me to find that flexibility in my mind and in how I approach the situations. That being said, learning to say no is not a bad thing. It helps me from overcommitting myself. I want to be able to do everything. I want to be able to help everyone. And I want to be able to, say yes to all of my colleagues when they need help with X, Y, or Z. But realistically, when I think especially about those 3 priorities I might have set for a day or whatever, I do need to be honest with what I can and can't do, and where my capacity is, maybe in a given day, in a given season. And so it's okay to say no. It's 100% okay to say no. You have to trust your gut. A lot of the time I've learned with saying no, like, am I saying no for the sake of just saying no? Or am I saying no because I do not have the capacity for this? Am I saying yes because, wow, this is a good challenge. This is going to put me in something that will help me learn. Or am I saying yes because I'm just trying to please everybody? You know what I mean? Like, just listening to yourself and kind of and that's why that reflection time is so important, because you get to know yourself and realize where you want to say your yeses and your nos. And where you say your yeses and your nos can be different than where I say mine and where other people say theirs. It's all what you want it to be, what you need it to be for your balance. So say no when you need to. Say no when you find yourself overcommitting, but say yes where you can too, where it, maybe helps you become a better clinician or grow as a human. So just keep those things in mind when you're thinking about setting boundaries. This is where it gets tricky when we're thinking of boundaries, because I go back and forth on this. It is important to have clear boundaries around your work, like your contract time hours. I am a firm believer in not checking. This is for me though. Remember, this is for me. This is what works for me. But I don't check my work email outside of my contract hours unless I have been told there's an important email that needs to be checked. And for that, like, my number is on the, district list, and we get our texts. They have their programs and whatever they do to make sure we're all communicated with. But I find that whatever comes through after my contract day ends can wait until tomorrow. That's the majority of the time. That is okay. I've made it pretty clear that I don't check my email on weekends. I have had colleagues like searching for me over weekends and trying to get a hold of me. And I have just said, I'm so sorry. Like, I will check on Monday. nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I need that time to not be a school-based SLP. So, for that reason, I don't have my email app on my phone for work email. I don't have it connected because that way I'm not like getting notifications. I'm not feeling, when you do the thing where your motor memory is going through or muscle memory is going through all your apps on your phone when you open up your phone. My work email is not attached to that. And on that note, actually, this is a good hack because I do this from time to time. Change around where your apps are, because I find that that's a huge time waster of mine, is like just opening and scrolling Instagram or TikTok for the sake of doing it because I'm used to just doing that. So I'll move where they are. So when I open my phone, I can't find them. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I don't need to be on this right now. Sorry, side note. But yeah, so that's something that helps me, is like not being attached to work things after, what did I say? My contract day ends at 2:50, give or take. I do have IEP meetings though that need to get scheduled after school. I can't say no to those. So there are those times where I need to stay late. Sometimes I do have paperwork that I need to catch up on. I need to do it. And I do stay after contract hours. Do I stay after contract hours the majority of my days? I've created that boundary for myself. It's what works for me. But I know that this is the debate right here. There are some educators, I guess, is what I see. I see these things like on social media where, you have the group that says you have to have a clear boundary. You can't go in before your contract time. You can't stay after. And they're like stuck to it or whatever. And then you have the group that's like, but if I don't do that, then I don't have time to prep or to do the things that really are good for my students and all of that. And it's different for everybody. That's the first thing I'll say. If you find that you have more balance because you stay a little bit later every day to finish up your IEPs, or you have one day a week where you do that, or maybe every once in a while it just happens, and instead of getting down on yourself for having to stay or do things outside of your contract hours because it just kind of happened that way, you say, oh, this is where I'm needed right now, and that's okay. Like, do whatever it is that works for you. And I will say it might be different in different seasons. I have seasons where we're busy after school almost every day. I feel like that's currently the season we're in, where I feel like there's just something going on every day. And so staying after for me is not good, because if I do, then everything kind of feels backed up, and I just don't have that time to like sit in my own space or do what I need to do to find balance or, make time for self-care. So it's going to change season to season, because then there's seasons where I'm like, I need to stay. I kind of want to stay. I kind of feel like if I don't stay, I'm not going to get the things done that I want to, and it'll feel better if I do it. So you have to just listen to yourself and not listen to anybody else when it comes to that. If you're finding that staying to, past your contract hours every so often or too often or whatever is causing you to burn out, then I would say that's not the path for you. But if you're finding the opposite, you see where I'm going with this? I think I made sense with it. I'm not here to tell you I used to do that. I used to be on Instagram and say, do not do this, whatever. And it doesn't feel right, because we're all different. We all have different lives. We all have different commitments. We all have different things that bring us joy. My mom, she's a great example of this. She will stay till 8 p.m. No, she won't stay till like 8 p.m. in her class, but she will stay as long as it takes to make sure that tomorrow's fun craft or activity or whatever is ready. And it brings her so much joy, and it's so worth it to her. I will maybe stay most an hour after school if that's the case for me, but we're two very different people and two very different school-based, professionals, and it works for her and it brings her joy, and that's the season of life she's in. I'm on the opposite end, but it's okay either way. Okay, I think I've drilled that nail in. That's not a saying, but I've done it. I've gotten that point across. Self-care. Well, I'll say this. It looks different for everybody. I love being outside, taking walks. We do it a couple times a week, and that has been a huge form of self-care for me in the last year and a half. I also love hanging on the couch with my cat and my journal and my tea or my coffee, things that I do like on weekends, slow Saturday mornings, all of that. it's gonna look different for you. But one thing I would recommend, highly, highly recommend in terms of self-care, in terms of having a weekly schedule, would be, because I know we're talking a lot about like a daily schedule, but every day might look different. Your self-care every day might look different. Mine does. But I also find it very helpful to have ways to get outside, like intentional ways of getting outside of my SLP mind and brain and everything like that, at least once a week in the form of play. And I do comedy improv once a week. I do. I love it. It's a community class. I have such a great community to be involved with in that, and just have fun and be playful and silly and just, you know, kind of nourish that inner child. And that's what I would recommend, is have ways to play, or have family game nights at least once a week. It's something that, at least, like I said, once a week, making that time for play. Maybe it's every day. My friend Elaine is really good about this, and I talk about this a lot every now and again, but like she taught me to have something in every room of your house that can inspire play. Like, have fun, get playful. I don't know. That's a huge piece of self-care for me. Just that fun, playful childlikeness that I can incorporate throughout my day. Obviously, if you're a pediatric SLP, you might be playing all day. So go you. You've already got that covered, but it is nice to do it on a level that's not in the therapy room sometimes, right? Like just doing it for you and only you might be the case. I also really like having things to take care of. As you can see, I live in a house full of plants. So for me, like, that's something in my weekly schedule. I'm taking care of the plants. We have our cat, you know, we love her, and she takes care of us pretty much more than we take care of her at this point. But yeah, just, I don't know, just cultivating a space where I am at peace has been really, really helpful too with that self-care. So again, ideas, but incorporating some self-care every day. Kind of to wrap this up, I want to go back to that whole idea of flexibility. Now that we've talked about, you know, okay, so I have a daily, you know, workflow, and I need to figure out how to schedule the balance into my life. But let's go back to flexibility, because when you accept that, yes, I have this schedule now, oh my gosh, I'm so balanced and whatever. Oh no, I had to stay later at that IEP, that cuts into my self-care time. Oh gosh, like now I'm not balanced. Uh-oh. That's where that flexibility comes in. When you have that perspective and that mindset around your schedule and know like things don't have to go as planned. I say that because sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. And it's whatever, it's great, you know what? Yeah. But like they don't have to. There's no law in nature or by man that says things have to go as planned. And life is life. And the one true constant is what? That things change. And so when you have that flexibility, even with something, you know, you look at life in a whole and like zoom out on the world and whatnot, and you can do all these things to give you some perspective. But really, like, look, we're talking about your SLP workday schedule. It's not going to go as planned every day. It's just not. I mean, I work with preschoolers. I know this to be a fact, and it has honestly probably helped me grow as a human much more than I realize even in this moment. Just that you can plan every little detail, and it doesn't go as planned because it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. And so when you accept that, you find so much freedom in your day. So knowing this, you know, you might spend a week with this schedule and be like, yeah, it works a little bit. Life kind of came at me. So like maybe we need to adjust. Take time. I don't know if you need to do it monthly, weekly, daily. That's kind of how I am. To just reflect and like say like, what do I need to adjust? I do not adjust my schedule daily, but I would say about once a month when it comes to like strictly my speech therapy schedule. I am updating it once a month, trying to figure out what works. Like I said, we just did this last week. I spent a lot of time reworking it, revamping it, because things change, and I gotta be flexible. I have a very exciting but very packed schedule coming in the next 3 months. With, you know, we have a lot of meetings on the calendar for IEP meetings and things like that. I also have some presentations. Like there's a lot of good things happening. But I know that the schedule that I had in the first half of the school year she gone. And taking time to like figure out where I need to adjust. It's gonna kind of be a work in progress because I don't know what these next 3 months are gonna look like. There's some new things coming my way. So being open to whatever comes and then being understanding that yes, things are changing and I need to just kind of be flexible and then figure it out as I go is okay. And it really is helpful when you are accepting of that piece. I know for me, sometimes when I have a day where, like this happened last week, have a day where things just don't go as planned and I forget that flexibility and I feel immense guilt as a clinician for the way the day went. It's hard. It is hard. And so just being able to say, that was today. That was today. I'm going to have a new day tomorrow and kind of just let go of that guilt and trust like, you know what? I'm going to do the best I can tomorrow and we'll see what happens. Rather than dwell on the guilt, because I know it sometimes it feels easier to like dwell on it and be like, well, shoot, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out what to do better. Bouncing back and like letting go of the guilt and then bouncing back, I should say, is really helpful, and just trusting that everything that when it comes to your balanced schedule, everything that you have going on is a lesson. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to accept versus resist what happens, and then move forward knowing what you now know and learning from that, but also knowing that, okay, now I have a new moment to be engaged in or a new day to be engaged in. And my schedule, we'll try again or we'll try it different. Like, don't be so afraid of the guilt that might come when things don't go as planned. And the less afraid you are of that, the less you'll feel guilty of those things, because you'll realize like, okay, didn't go as planned today. But I'm still going to make time for self-care. I'm still going to make time to play. I am going to adjust where I need to adjust. And, start small with it. Start small with it. Like I said, pick those like few things you want to prioritize. And maybe just in the next couple days, you're just assessing. You're assessing what my schedule looks like. Where do I feel I need to adjust to be able to set boundaries? Where do I feel I need to incorporate a little bit of self-care in the middle of my workday because gosh, I just really can't seem to transition from this to this without feeling super overwhelmed. I'll say this. You ready? You can do it. You can adjust where you need to adjust. You can figure it out. You can plan ahead, or you can choose not to plan ahead. It's going to be okay. And the more you give yourself that grace, and the more you trust that whatever your balance might have looked like in grad school, or whatever your balance looked like last year, or whatever your balance looked like last week, doesn't have to be what it looks like today or tomorrow or next week or next month or next year, then you really will find that, okay, like the more I can like let go of what I think it should be and kind of just rearrange or adjust where I need to, be flexible, prioritize my wellness, all of those things, then I don't know, I think the easier it'll get. And you'll build habits that help you. Remember this though, if like you take anything away from this video, honestly, I think, if I was a CF or a grad student watching this is what I would have wanted somebody to tell me. The way you create your schedule, the way you balance your life does not have to look like mine, does not have to look like that other SLPs, does not have to look like your admin that you admire so much. It doesn't have to. You can take inspiration from all these different sources, but figure out what works for you and take that time to reflect and decide, this is what balance means to me right now. But just stay open, stay flexible, things change, you grow, and then your balance is gonna look different. Your, life's circumstances change and balance will look different. So just make sure you go into it with that understanding and that grace for yourself and your life. Really quick, before I end this video, I did want to show you, I meant to do this earlier, it didn't happen, whatever. We're moving on because we're flexible and we accept and adapt and do all those good things for our own balance. But I did want to show you what I use to kind of keep myself reminded of tasks, organize my task, all those things. And so first and foremost, I use for work a good old-fashioned academic planner. This is a rifle paper one. I actually found it at Anthropology at the beginning, well, over the summer last year, because it's academic. So yeah, it runs August through July. So it's just like this. Every page, every spread is just the calendar. Meetings, important things, where they're happening. And then in the notes section, I just have my running monthly tasks. So that's where I'm looking at all the different tasks that I have. And then on a daily basis, kind of going through and like, okay, what do I need to prioritize today? So this is where my running tasks are. I said that already. If I need to add any notes or anything, I pop it in there, and then I'm like, okay, those are more tasks that, you know, I need to prioritize or they're urgent or whatever. So that's the school one. And I really have loved this year. One, because I'd go between sites, so it's thin. And then, I don't know, I find the less stuff, the more at ease and balanced I feel with my schedule. So that's been super helpful. When it comes to the content, I have this beautiful planner from Anecdote. Now this is the chunky guy. This guy has like, I love it because it has, it's customizable. That's what I'm trying to say. It's customizable. So I have filled this out based on all the dates that I'm working in this planner. It does have the monthly spread. So content-wise, this has been so helpful because I have calendared all the videos, like for this video right here. Look at all my video ideas are here, and here's us right now. So that's pretty fun. So this is my content planner. So at the beginning of every week, I'm kind of just going through, putting what content I want to be working on, what days, what's being edited, what I need to film, all my YouTube ideas, they are in here. They're also in my phone because sometimes I don't have that with me and I have an idea and I'm like, okay. Speaking of my phone, with the new Apple update, if you have an Apple, I didn't know this until my friend told me, but you now can sync your reminders to your calendar, and this has been huge for me. I never used to be like, I know I don't want to be tied to my phone, but when it comes to all of my lists, I've also been keeping running lists in here. So content-wise, it's been really helpful because I have YouTube content, I have Instagram content, mainly just to jot down my ideas. Everything else is pen to paper because I'm old school like that. But then I also keep a running list of work things in here. So like when I need to order trial devices for my kids, or when I need to like remember, oh, send that parent questionnaire home. All those things go in here, and then I'll make sure they're set up on my calendar to remind me on that day. So it's been really helpful. So just a tip, if you use your iPhone calendar and reminders, that's been saving me, because sometimes I feel like my brain is trying to go in all these different directions. So knowing that I could just write it down somewhere and then it'll happen when I get that reminder has been, whew, talk about self-care, right? Okay. Anyways, I just want to, again, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any scheduling tips, especially if you're not a school-based SLP, school-based SLPs, no, I want to hear you too. Weigh in, because I am one perspective, and it would be really great if, you know, you have a tip that you want to share in the comments. Please feel free to share it. But if you're not, and that's a world, you know, I'm not as familiar with. So if you're not school-based and you have some tips for private practice, for the medical, you know, the hospitals, or inpatient, outpatient, like what are some tips that you feel like maybe a new SLP would like really benefit from hearing, or old SLP, or, you know, those of us that find that we like the inspiration of what other people are doing, and maybe it'll help me get ideas for my schedule or for my routines. But again, it's all subjective, right? So yeah, keep that in mind. Thank you again, and I'm grateful you're here, and I'm gonna see you in the next video. So until then, bye-bye.